Okay, now this is a question on probability. Okay, let me just read the question. A job seeker is attending an interview in a company. The interview is in three parts. We have the aptitude, the written, and the verbal. The probabilities of A passing the aptitude test, written test, and verbal test are 0.7, 0.6, and 0.5 respectively. Now the first question says you should find the probability of him passing. Now the second question, the probability of him passing all the test. The second question, probability of him failing all the test. Now, of course, you are given the probability of him passing aptitude test, written test, and verbal test. Okay, now solution. Now, probability of him passing the aptitude. So let me use A to represent that. Probability of him passing A. Passing A. Let's use A to represent aptitude. Probability of him passing aptitude according to the question. You can see the order: aptitude test first, written test second, then the last one, verbal test. So that of aptitude, the probability of him passing is 0.7, as you can see from the question. Now, probability of him passing the next one, that's the written test. Let me use W to represent that. Passing W equal to 0.6, 0.6, and probability of him passing the last one, which is that of verbal. Let's use V to represent that. That is equal to 0.5. Now, before we continue, there's need for us to get the probability of him failing the three tests. So, of course, I'm going to, just like what you already know, you have probability of him failing the aptitude, failing A, will now be 1 minus 0.7, because you consider that the whole probability is 1. Okay, the whole probability is 1. So probability of him failing A is equal to 1 minus 0.7, and that will give 0.3. All right, so you do the same for the written test. Probability of him failing the written, failing W, equal to 1 minus 0.6. Okay, and that gives 0.4. Now the last one, probability of him failing verbal test, equal to 1 minus 0.5, and that will give 0.5. So with this now, this information now, then I cannot answer the question. Okay, now of course the first question here says we should find the probability of him passing Roman figure 1 all the tests. So in that case, to answer that, we have A, Roman figure 1, probability of him passing all the tests, that is passing the three tests, that is that of aptitude, written, and verbal. So probability of him passing W is passing A, passing the written test, passing W, sorry, and passing the verbal test. So we have what we need now. Probability of him passing A is 0.7. Then we multiply now in this case. So probability of him passing the written test, that's 0.6. The probability of him passing the verbal, that's 0.5. So when I do this operation, if I multiply the three decimal numbers, we have 0.7, multiply by 0.6, multiply by 0.5, you have the answer to be what? 0.21. So this 0.21 is the probability of him passing the three tests. I think that is okay. Now you move to the next one, Roman figure 2. Roman figure 2 says we should look for the probability of him failing all the tests. It's the opposite of this. That is probability of him failing the aptitude test, failing the written test, then failing the verbal test. Okay, so we have this to be equal to, we have settled that failing aptitude test, that's 0.3, failing written test, that's 0.4, failing verbal test, that's 0.5. Then I'm going to multiply these three. So we have 0.3 multiplied by 0.4 multiplied by 0.5. So that gives 0.06. Okay, 0.06. That's for question A. Now let's move to question B. Question B says, okay, find the probability of him passing at least two of the tests. Now in this case, we say at least. So at least two means it can be more than two. But the minimum you can have is two. So the probability of him passing minimum of two. Also minimum of two and above. Okay, so at least two means the minimum you can have is two. You can as well have more than two. So this is how I'm going to do. We have more than one possibility in that case. So I'm going to say probability of him passing, let's start with that, passing A, passing W, then we are failing verbal test. Now if you look at this now, they say at least two, then it means probability of him passing aptitude, passing written, but failing V. This is true now. So we have that. Or we have probability of him passing A, failing W, that's the written, at the same time passing the verbal. Look at that very well. So this two, this also two. Passing, in this case, it passes the aptitude test, also passes the verbal test, but fail the written test. So that's one. It still continues. Or probability of him failing A, passing W, and also passing V. That's the verbal. Okay. Now, because the question says at least two, it can as well pass the three tests. At least two. Now we have settled that of two here. We have two. Passing A, passing W, passing A, passing V. Now we are passing W, passing V. Or the last one, probability of him passing all. Okay, because of that at least two. So we have probability of passing A, passing W, then passing V. So I'm going to combine. You know, in all means addition in probability. So I'm starting now. Probability of him passing A, that's 0.7, times passing W, you have 0.6. Then failing V, there is a 0.5. You can close this in bracket. Plus, move to the next one. Probability of him passing A. Passing A is 0.7. Then failing W, that's the written test. Failing W is 0.4 here. Then passing V is 0.5. Move to the next one. Or that's addition. Probability of him failing A. Failing A is a 0.3. That's 0.3. 0.3. Then we have passing W. Passing W. We have passing W here. That's 0.6 multiplied by passing V. Passing V is 0.5. Then the last one plus probability of him passing A, passing W, and passing V. I think we have done that. That's the first question, A Roman figure 1. So let me just try and repeat it. In exam condition, you can decide not to repeat it. We have 0.7 times 0.6 times 0.56. You already have the answer to that. So if I'm to do this now, let me multiply now. The first one here, 0.7, 0.7, all right, times 0.6 times 0.5 equal to, so this gives 0.25, 0.21 plus, now when I multiply this one, we have 0.7 times 0.4 times 0.5, that gives 0.14 plus, then if I multiply this one, now we have 0.3 multiplied by 0.6 multiplied by 0.5, that gives 0.09. Now the last one is this one. I think we've gotten that to be 0.21 as well. So when I add up these numbers, we have 0.21 plus 0.14 plus 0.09 plus 0.21, that gives 0.65. so that is the probability of him passing at least 2 of the tests. All right, now the next one, that's Roman figure 2. Find the probability of him passing one test. In this case, there is no at least, just one test. So if I'm to do that, okay, let me do that here, the other side. So one test, just one test. So we have probability, that's B Roman figure 2, if I'm not mistaken. So B Roman figure 2. Okay, B Roman figure 2, probability of him passing one test. Okay, probability of him passing one test. Probability of him passing one test. So let me do it here. So that it means we have probability of him passing the aptitude test, okay, failing the written test, then also failing the verbal test, okay, or probability of him failing A, failing W, and passing V, or probability of him failing A, then passing W, then failing V. Okay, they said just one test, probability of him passing one test. If he passes A, they have to fail the two. If he passes V, you have to fill the other two. If it passes W, you have to fill A and V. So these are the possibilities in this case. So of course, then I will now slot in my values. Okay, probability of him passing A. So let me just write this one out. Probability of him passing A. Okay, passing A here. Passing A is 0.7. Okay, 0.7. That's for passing A. 0.7. 0.7. All right. Then failing W. Failing W and failing V. Failing W, you are failing W 0.4. Then failing V 2 is 0.5. So you have 0.4 times 0.5 plus all means addition. Probability of him failing A. Failing A is 0.3. Okay, times failing W. Failing W is 0.6. Then failing W is 0.4. 0.4. Then passing V. Passing V is 0.5. Okay, plus probability of him failing A. Failing A is 0.3. Then we have passing W. We have passing W. Passing W is 0.6. 0.6. Then we have failing V. Failing V is 0.5. That of failing V and passing V, they are equal because we call that even probability. Okay, we have 0.5. Then of course, if you take away 0.5 from one, you still have a 0.5. So then I'm going to do this operation and get the final answer. All right, so I have 0.7 times 0.4 times 0.5, that gives 0.0.14, plus we have 0.0.3 times 0.4 times 0.5, that gives 0.06, plus we have 0.0.3 times 0.6 times 0.5, that gives 0.09. So the addition eventually will now give what? We have 0.09 plus 0.06 plus 0.14, that gives 0.0.29. Okay, so that is the solution to the problem. Now is a why question. It's a why question. So if there is any question, you can relate with me, through the comment, or you can shout me up. All right, thanks.